Praise be Jesus and Mary.
Now and forever.
In our last reflection on Franciscan spirituality, we spoke of how Christ in his human and his divine nature is the supreme glorifier of God, and how we, united to him, not only glorify the Lord ourselves, but we're also glorified by God too. Today we're just going to finish that reflection talking about where we see this, especially in the New Testament. The two evangelists of this revelation of Christ as the universal glorifier, a revelation that Franciscan spirituality places as its foundation for its doctrine and its devotion. The two evangelists of this doctrine are St. John the Apostle and St. Paul. But St. John and St. Paul, as they discover or they unveil for us the glorifying centrality of the Word incarnate among all beings, they reveal this by proceeding in opposite directions. So one descends a spiritual ladder, as it were, the other one goes up the spiritual ladder. St. John is the one who descends. St. John sees first of all the Word. He sees the Word with a capital W, eternally generated in the womb of the Father. That's how he begins his gospel, right? In the beginning was the Word, we read in John 1:1. He sees the Word as the center and foundation of life, of every life. He says, in him was life. John 1 verse 4. John also describes the manifestation of this life. He says, by means of the Word all things were made, and without him was not anything made that was made. John 1 verse 3. That's the Word as creator there. Then follows the Word as sanctifier in the next verse, when the apostle says, in the Word was life, and life was the light of men. John 1 verse 4. So the Word is creator, the Word is sanctifier, then the Word is glorifier comes when he celebrates the praises of God. We read in John 1 verses 14 and 17, we beheld his glory, the glory of the only begotten Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. So St. John reveals to us Christ's glory from a descending point of view, from above, where he begins with the Word as God who comes down to earth, sanctifies us, and reveals God's glory to us, his glory to us. St. Paul goes the opposite direction. He goes from the bottom up. He discovers the unity of the end and of the design in creation which is ordered to Christ. He goes from creation up to God. All is yours, he says to the believers in Corinth in 1 Corinthians 3:22, meaning that everything we have that's beneath us or which is inferior to us was actually created for us. Animals, plants, all the world, which is inanimate as well. But we, human beings, humanity, we have a mission to accomplish. This mission is to have, first, dominion over ourselves. And this is our immediate goal in life. Man was also created by God to live and to exist in order to prepare human nature, to prepare the human nature that the Word incarnate would embrace too. And that we were actually going to be engrafted into in Christ as members of his body, engrafted into the head too. So the center and the king of the universe is then the God-man who is Christ. St. Paul says, all is yours, in that verse from Corinthians. Then he says, and you are Christ's, and Christ is God's. 1 Corinthians 3 verse 23. So all is yours, and then you go up to you are Christ's, and then Christ belongs to God, climbing the ladder. Christ attracts creation to himself. He recapitulates the works of God, and he himself is ordered to God too. He is the means, the principal means provided by God to glorify the Blessed Trinity. The Word assumes a human nature, and in that human nature brings all of creation together in order to subject it to God. Of this immense, wonderful edifice of creation, Christ is the cornerstone. St. Peter says that, 1 Peter 2 verse 6. He's the cornerstone which holds together and coordinates everything to God's purposes. The Father who placed all things into the hands of his Son, who makes him govern all things in order to bring everything to him, The Father has, as the psalmist says, crowned Jesus with glory and honor, has given him dominion over the works of his hands, has placed all things under his feet. That's Psalm 8, verses 5 and 6. And it's the Son to whom the Father has addressed the offering from all eternity. When he said, "Ask of me," he says to the Son, "and I will give you the nations as your heritage, and the ends of the earth as your possession." Psalm 2, verse 8. And then the Son, who becomes incarnate in time, prays for those whom the Father gave him. He says at the Last Supper, "Father, the glory which you have given me, I have given to them, that they may be one as we are one. Father, I desire that they also whom you have given to me may be with me where I am, to behold my glory which you have given me in your love before the foundation of the world." That's in John 17. So we see in both St. Paul and St. John's writing this role of Christ as the universal glorifier of all creation. St. John, again, highlights more of God coming down to earth, is revealing his glory to us, sanctifying us, bringing us back to the Father in glory. St. Paul highlights more how Christ is the head of the church and grafts us into his humanity, and through that brings us to the Father. It's the same discourse for both of them, essentially, but they're just looking at it from different perspectives. So let's simply ask Our Lady today for the grace to cooperate in God's sanctifying work in our lives, so that we can be more engrafted into Christ, that we can more reflect his character and his glory here and in the life hereafter. Praise be Jesus and Mary, now and forever.
Would like to grow in love and knowledge of the Immaculate Virgin Mary? Consider a subscription to the Missio Immaculate magazine. The Missio is a bi-monthly magazine published by the Franciscans of the Immaculate for over 15 years. Every issue of the Missio features articles about Our Lady's privileges and her mission in the Church and world for the sanctification and conversion of souls. The Missio takes to heart the ancient saying of the Church, De Maria Nunquam Satis, of Mary you can never say enough. You can subscribe online at missiomagazine.com, that's MISSIO, magazine.com, or go to the homepage of airmaria.com. Back issues of the Missio are also available upon request. The Missio is a practical way to behold your mother and take her into your home. Ave Maria.